Welcome to the Local Insider Podcast, a show about everyday people who make a big difference.
Are you ready to take control of your financial future? Make your dreams a reality at Blankenship Wealth Management. Our personalized strategies are tailored to your goals and aspirations. Trust in Blankenship Wealth Management for a brighter tomorrow. Blankenship Wealth Management, your path to financial success. Isaac Sirk, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Brian. How are you today?
I'm doing great. I'm excited to have you on. I can't wait for folks to hear your story.
Thank you.
It's unseasonably warm right now outside, so we may have to kick the air on here in January.
That's all right with me.
So how was your day? What have you been up to today?
The day's been good. I've just been raising kids, and we watched a few movies this morning.
Yeah. What kind of movies you guys like?
We watched the new Transformers this morning.
Oh yeah. What is the newest one they've got?
Rise of the Beasts.
Oh, was that good? Does that have the I saw somebody was saying they had one with like the Dinobots in it.
It's not that one. It's a little newer.
Oh, okay. So that's an old one now.
Yeah. I think it has animals. I think it has cheetah, a couple gorillas.
Really?
Yeah.
How cool was it?
It was really good. It was probably my favorite one yet. It really was.
I like the old one, the first one with Shia LaBeouf.
Yeah.
That was pretty cool.
Yeah.
But nothing beats the old Transformers animated movie. You remember that?
I do.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
So what's your story? Have you always lived here in Booneville or?
No. I was actually born here. I was delivered here at Booneville Hospital.
Really?
I was. Me and my wife were both delivered by the same doctor here at Booneville.
What doctor was that?
I believe it was Dr. Daniels.
Dr. Daniel.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yep. Shout out to Andy.
Yes, and then right after that, we had moved to Texas. My father, Ken Sirk, and my mother, Billy. She was a Sirk then, but she died of Handshaw. And we lived in Texas, and they owned their own business for a while.
What part of Texas?
The Austin-Fort Worth area.
Okay.
So I got to grow up watching the Von Erichs wrestle.
Really?
I sure did, man.
That's cool.
Yeah, it was really neat. We were huge Von Erich fans. Huge. And so from there, I accidentally burnt our house down.
Oh my goodness.
How
did you do that?
My parents, they owned like a construction business.
Mm-hmm.
And my dad or a contracting business. He would come in and do all the painting and stuff like on the trim and the walls and everything. And if there was any wallpaper that needed to be done, that was what my mom did. She did wallpaper. So once they were all off at work or whatever, we had a live-in nanny at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And she was taking us for the story that I've been told as a kid was she was taking us out for lunch, and I was in my bedroom with some wax candles, playing with them, pouring wax on different stuff and stuff I wasn't supposed to be doing. But when she hollered for me, I shoved all that stuff like under my bed. And
oh yeah, naturally, that's what a kid does. You
yes.
Shove it under the bed.
Uh-huh.
It'll keep the fire under there. So how old were you? Probably 4, maybe 3.
Yeah, right around there. Yeah. And then after that, it was a big catastrophic deal for our family. So we moved back to Arkansas, and my parents separated. And when they separated, my mother's father, but my grandfather, Bill Scantlin, he was able to get custody of us for a little while. So I got to live on a farm there. We slaughtered chickens, and we would boil them and pull the feathers. And he owned cattle, and he owned a huge watermelon farm that we had to stay out of. which that was tough. A lot tougher for my older brother than me.
So is that here in Logan County?
Yes, that was on Jack Creek Road.
Okay, cool. Yeah,
Yeah.
I grew up there.
It sure was. And then, from there, my mom got in some trouble, and she had to go away for a while. So my dad got custody of us from my grandfather. And then we lived in Mayflower.
Okay.
We lived in Mayflower till I was in 1990, I was hit by a car getting off the school bus, and I had a high femur break. And my dad kind of decided that, it was a lot for him. He was a single dad, and my mom she was really wanting all of us kids back with her.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where we ended up. We came back to Booneville when I was in the 3rd grade, and I've been here ever since. I started working at BHDC out of high school.
Mm-hmm.
I'll have 20 years there in May of this year. I'm proud of that.
Yeah, man. 20
Yeah.
years.
At Tyler Ford in Booneville, trust and tradition matter. For 27 years, we've been your hometown dealer, making car buying easy and stress-free. Our family tradition is built on trust. And when you choose Tyler Ford, you're choosing generations of satisfied customers. With a commitment to excellence and your satisfaction in mind, Tyler Ford offers a range of vehicles to suit your needs. From the latest models to reliable pre-owned options, we're dedicated to find the perfect fit for you. Visit us in Booneville or call us at 479-675-2313. Let us show you why generations of families choose Tyler Ford. Because we're more than a dealership. We're part of your community. Tyler Ford, where trust meets tradition.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm guessing Bill would be your maternal grandfather, right?
Yes.
Okay. And you said your mom, when she passed, she was a Handshaw. Is that the same Handshaws that would be out west of town?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah, the Handshaw Road.
family. Yeah.
Absolutely. The road was named after my grandfather, Ray Handshaw.
Okay.
Yeah, he was a jeweler.
Really?
He sure was. He would work on watches and
That's cool.
fit stones and rings and things like that.
So, tell me more about what grade were you in when the car hit you?
Oh man, I was just a little
like
kid, man. I was like
kindergarten?
2nd grade.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I was in like 1st or 2nd grade.
So do you remember it, or did you block it out?
There's certain things I remember of it. I remember more being in Children's Hospital
Mm-hmm.
because all the kids that were on the bus seen me get hit.
Ooh.
Yeah, and the driver. And so at Mayflower, they were sending me care packages, letters, get well letters,
Mm-hmm.
just all kinds of stuff to let me know I was being thought of.
That's cool. That's got to make you feel good as a kid.
It did. Cause you don't notice stuff like that. I
Yeah.
didn't know that many people had that much compassion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Wow. And that was probably before the stop sign, the swinging stop sign on the bus. Were you walking in front, I guess, to go across the road?
Yes, my house was on the opposite side from what the door opened on.
Mm-hmm.
So when it opened, we went around to the front of the bus. We lived on the top of a hill,
Mm-hmm.
and there was a young driver who she hadn't had her license long, and she actually, if she would have stayed in her lane, she would have smashed into the rear end of the bus. But she was messing with her radio.
Oh.
It was the story I remember
Mm-hmm.
from my dad. She was messing with her radio and was in the wrong lane when she hit me.
So we've always had distractions as drivers. You know?
Always. Yeah, it's not just cell phone
Yeah.
era.
The 8-track, they were, I wonder if they had the public advertisements, and the 8-track was out. Don't mess with be
Yeah.
kind. Don't text and drive. Don't 8-track and drive.
Yeah. I doubt it. There was a lot less awareness of things like that
Yeah.
then.
Yeah. After the advent of cars, it was very common to be hit and ran over by a car. There were lots of people killed by them,
Yes.
and especially in big cities. So what makes you smile when you wake up in the morning?
It has to be my family, my wife, my relationship with God. That's what drives me, man. That's what keeps me going. And just watching my kids grow and learn, and that makes me smile.
So what are your plans after you're 20 years on the Hill? I know you can retire after 20, right?
At 28 is full
28,
retirement.
Okay.
But I am legally disabled
Mm-hmm.
due to a kidney transplant I received 10 years ago.
It's been 10 years.
It'll be 10 years January 9th. So my anniversary's coming up.
Wow. So and Lacey gave you a kidney, right?
Yes, my
Your
wife. Yeah.
That is awesome.
I wouldn't let her give it to me for a long time. And shout out to George French, Kim Hunt, or Kim Wagner. There's one more. Well, these are people that went all the way to Minnesota on their own dime to be tested to give me a kidney. They just wasn't able to because they found health issues with those people, which it was probably life-saving to both of them too.
Yeah.
They had some real issues that they needed to be seen about that we didn't know about.
Mm-hmm. So that's remarkable.
Mm-hmm. You never know what's going on, really, you know?
No, and it always works out.
It does. I agree 100%. It always works out.
So why did you need that kidney transplant?
I needed the kidney transplant because I have a blood clotting disorder, and and I also have lupus nephritis, which the Mayo Clinic wasn't for sure if I had got a clot in my renal artery because both of my kidneys failed at the same time in the same moment.
Wow.
So they were leaning more towards I more than likely had a clot in my renal artery. But and lupus is always on that back burner, like it could have had a hand in it, you know, just inflaming everything internally.
So I'm not entirely clear on exactly what lupus is where your body's defense system, basically your immune system attacks your own body. Is that right?
That's right. That's right. It gets confused, so to say, so to speak, and it'll attack its own cells and its own, you know, just any binding material you have, like any organ, any joint. Anything that binds tissue or bone or anything together, that can be inflamed by lupus. It's usually what it attacks. So anything that stretches.
So all your connective tissue.
Yes, skin, eyes, tongue.
So how do you keep that at bay?
Prednisone.
Yeah.
Mostly I'm on a maintenance dose, thank goodness. It's a 5 milligram maintenance dose. But when I do flare, I welcome more prednisone because that's going to be the quickest fix.
Sure.
Has been so far.
Yeah, my grandmother had Crohn's disease, so she had to take prednisone a lot.
Yeah.
And it caused osteoporosis in her, so her bones were real brittle. Have you thought of any other like alternative, maybe like a carnivore diet? I know. Do you know who Dr. Jordan Peterson is?
Yes.
His daughter Michaela suffered from an autoimmune disorder when she was a little girl, from the time she was born until she was in her teens. And he said it was debilitating. Like she was probably went through more pain in that little stretch of life than most people do in a lifetime. And it almost drove him mad. And I don't remember the story of how they found out about this, but that she went on basically a carnivore diet where all she eats is meat, nothing else, just meat. And you can have eggs and some dairy like cheese and stuff, but and
I've heard of it.
it totally reversed her disorder. In fact, she just had a baby. She's probably in her 30s now, and
Mhm.
she has her own show and everything. But yeah, it's supposed to, the carnivore diet is supposed to be really effective against inflammation.
Nice. The only thing that concerns me
Mm-hmm.
about stopping my prednisone is it would be a lot harder for me to get back on a transplant list
Oh yeah,
if
yeah.
they were to review my history and see that they have prescribed me a medicine
That you didn't take.
that I refuse to take.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then you're seen as like um,
A quack.
pretty much like they're not going to trust you with someone else's kidney,
Mm-hmm.
because they're held liable. They're held liable for the
Yeah.
condition of that kidney.
Hmm.
Usually the hospital that transplants it, they have some sort of liability, and if that kidney fails or makes it.
Really?
Yes.
So they own your wife's kidney that's in you right now.
Pretty much. That's what it feels like to me. It's
Do they call in? Hey, how's the kidney?
I actually received a call last week
Really?
saying you're due for an appointment, Mr. Sirk.
So you have to go to the Mayo Clinic.
I do. I'll go March 16th through the 18th this year.
Well, I got to tell you, man, you look great.
Thank you.
I was worried about you there for a bit, before you got your transplant. Of course, that was 10 years ago. But that lets you know how important your kidneys are. I feel for people that are on dialysis and things like that. But yeah, it was a miracle. And then the way the story, I guess ended up, with it being Lacey's kidney that saved you. That's just, I mean, that needs to be a movie, man. That's awesome.
I've had multiple people tell me I should write a book about the whole experience.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So, what are you most excited about right now?
Right now, the most exciting thing in my life by far is my children, of
Mhm.
course.
Yeah.
And, just being active in their life daily, from practicing basketball to reading comic books to Bible study
Mm-hmm.
to
How important is
just
that?
watching movie. The Bible study?
Yeah, you have a family Bible study, right?
Yes. Yeah. This morning we did the story of Abraham's sacrifice.
Abraham and Isaac.
Yes, Abraham and Isaac. So they learned a little bit about leading God blindly,
Mm-hmm.
and He will provide. He will take care of you.
Always.
So that was what I was hoping they take away from that.
It's amazing that our lives aren't longer, because it seems like just when you are starting to get, I feel like, I should have known what I know now, like when I was 18. I feel like it's just getting started. And then I look at it, it's like you're almost 50. Like, hey, we've got to have some more time. The closer you get to the finish line.
No, I understand that for sure.
But what the reason I brought that up is faith. When you were talking about how God will always provide, I've been fortunate enough to be in a position to where, my faith can be a witness to someone. And we were in a situation to where it was like something is going to have to happen, or it's going to be there's going to be catastrophic consequences. And I said, I'm not worried a bit, whether it be a loss of a job or a loss of a loved one or a friend. There's, you can say what you want. If you're a believer, a non-believer, I know that there's a God, and because I've seen His handiwork. There's only so many coincidences that mathematically that could be explained.
Yes. Yeah.
So, and I simply said, I'm not worried about it a bit. And you know what? It always works out.
It does. It's always the things that you can't control that
Mhm.
worry you the most, and that's what I'm getting better at in my old age of letting that go and keeping it out of my brain. If I
Mhm.
can't control it, then there's no sense in worrying about it.
Right.
But back to the age thing, I think a lot of, at least younger men's, our most problem, I know it was mine, is I was too selfish
Mhm.
to understand the big picture,
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
It seems like it's all self-centric until you, especially when you become a father, and I feel like, Christian, my oldest, we kind of grew up together. And sometimes I feel like I cheated him a little bit because he was more of a friend than a son. And not that I don't think that I did a bad job raising him. It's just my patience was not what it is now. And, I was a lot more strict on him. And which he's turned out to be a very good young man. He's very bright and
I'm very impressed.
yeah. But anyway, that goes back to what you were saying. Yeah, being a dad really teaches you that you're not the center of the world anymore.
It's taught me to be more selfless,
Mm-hmm.
and I've learned that from my wife too. When she gave me her kidney, and just the discussions I had with her mother and her family and how everyone felt about it.
Mm-hmm.
They were proud of her for being a selfless person to do, it's a selfless act
Yeah.
to give your kidney. It is, and I would encourage anyone who is in great health to share your spare.
Mm-hmm.
You only need one to live, and there is a lot of people on the kidney transplant list that are worth saving.
Yeah. So what is that? What is that process like? What would?
They would just have to, they would go to whatever hospital that they've contacted to be on the transplant list,
Mm-hmm.
and you would go to that hospital, and they will do a total workup on you. And if you are physically fit, mentally sound, if you have any issues, they will not take your kidney.
Mm-hmm.
So it's an important thing to them too, because that hospital's not going to put the donor in any jeopardy, really.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the thing too, is if a donor has an issue with their one good kidney, they are moved to the top of the list. They go before everyone else on getting a kidney.
Really?
Absolutely. Yeah.
So if you donate a kidney, and then the one good one you have for whatever reason fails, then you're on the top of the transplant list.
Absolutely.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
That's good. So, what is the process of? So they do all. I'm sure there's a million tests they have to run to make sure that the blood type is a match and all that, and it's not going to be rejected. And so, is it a pretty quick process of removing the kidney, or is it something that requires a hospital stay?
Yes. Me and my wife, she only stayed one night in the hospital.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, it is very quick. They actually took her back to prep her for surgery and everything. And as they were cutting the kidney out of her, I was in prep. So they had me, by the time they had her kidney pulled out, they had me laid down, knocked out, opened up, and it's literally a few steps they'll take
From one
one person to the next. So it's considered a living kidney.
Wow.
Yes.
That's pretty amazing.
And they generally last 10 to 15 years longer than a deceased donor's kidney.
Oh, I would imagine.
Yeah.
That you can say what you want about medical science, but I think there is there's something in our body that knows, like if there was a traumatic end or traumatic. Well, it just going back to the Bible, you don't eat strangled meat, you don't, and so that I think scientifically that kind of proves that if you have a living kidney versus somebody who's deceased, the body's ready to go. So it tells all the organs that it's time to go, shut down. And then you got something saying, wake up. You're still in
And there's been cases of people's kidneys failing them for years. And something will happen, some event will happen, and their kidneys will actually come back, start working again.
Really?
Yes. And I still have my kidneys, so I'm hopeful for that. I've got 3 kidneys.
Really?
Yeah.
How does that work? Where did they put the other one? Like on top of one or what?
Oh, no. It goes in the front.
Really?
Yeah. In the front near your groin.
Are you serious?
They don't even connect it to your renal artery. It goes to my cerebral artery that runs along the inside of my femur.
Really?
Yeah. And when they took Lacey's kidney, they also take the tube that runs from the kidney to the bladder. So I needed that from her as well. And then, you get an extra long catheter when you get a kidney transplant. So it holds that tube that they transplanted. The catheter will have an extension that will keep that open because it takes a while for that to heal around there and seal up and everything. And then once it does, they pull that catheter and you're peeing, man. And I didn't make urine for years.
Really?
The whole time I was on dialysis for like 3 years. I never peed a drop.
Wow.
Yeah. I didn't know if my bladder would still work or if it had shrunk and shriveled up and died or what, But
interesting.
I was very blessed.
Yeah. That you didn't have to have a bladder transplant or a catheter or something. That's pretty remarkable. So changing subjects here a little bit, what is your most what period of history are you most interested in? I know you're a history guy.
Yeah. I like the first century, before and after.
Yeah.
I really do. I'm really interested in a lot of like Sumerian technology, what these early civilizations have. Because, I truly believe there's nothing new under the sun.
Right.
I really do.
Yeah. So you believe that basically that the world is on like cycles, like the Egyptians were on the pyramids and all that, they were on a previous cycle and everything was destroyed, and we're just now getting back up to maybe what they had or close to it.
I don't really know about that. I believe in the time of Jared, fallen angels came down, and I believe they had technologies even more superior than ours.
Like the Nephilim.
Yep.
Yeah. The fallen ones. Yeah.
Yeah. The men of renown.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Genesis 6, I believe it is.
I believe so.
Yeah.
But yeah, and we'll never beat their technology. We'll never be better than what they had.
Yeah.
We'll never have that knowledge.
It's interesting. They, if you read First Enoch, which is not official canon, but it's considered a extra biblical text. It's I don't know it was a book that they read at the time of Christ.
Yeah. And Christ, his disciples taught from the Book of Enoch. There's examples where they say, does Enoch not teach us of certain lessons and certain things? So you can tell they referenced it. And then also in Ethiopia.
Yeah.
If you look at the Bible in Ethiopia.
They included it in their canon.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I believe that is where Mark fled to. So what Ethiopia has is like what Mark would teach from. That's where they got their Bible.
Yeah, so they didn't have like, you know how we have the books of the Bible, they're all in one binding and here's your Bible. They didn't have that. They had all these books. They had of course they had the Torah, which is the first 5 books. They had all those. Those were in scrolls. Then they had other books like
The books of Jubilee.
Yeah, Jubilee and Jasher and Enoch and all those, and they were taught from those books. And then in the another interesting fact about First Enoch is there was more copies of First Enoch found in Qumran in the Dead Sea Scrolls than there were any other book aside from I think Leviticus.
Okay, nice.
Or Deuteronomy. I don't remember, but yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I really enjoyed the Book of Enoch. It it has a lot more exciting things that just kept me glued to it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
it's got a really good story.
It really does, and it tells from beginning to end all in that book.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's I think it's in First or Second Thessalonians. That's Book of Jasher is actually quoted from in there.
Yeah.
And which led me to read the Book of Jasher, and the story of the Tower of Babel in the Book of Jasher will blow your mind. It's describing the Tower of Babel. They said it was a man walking. It would take him 3 days to walk around the base of the tower.
Can you imagine?
That's crazy.
Imagine how much bigger than the pyramid that thing was.
Yeah.
That's just wild.
Yeah, it's very interesting.
It is. I would encourage anyone who believes or doesn't believe to read those books.
Mm-hmm.
And I would encourage everyone to get a Geneva Bible.
Mm-hmm.
It's the Bible before King James edited the things he did.
Right.
Yeah. It's different.
Mm-hmm.
It is.
Yeah, there's a few different. I would say it has a different flavor than the King James does, because the King James commissioned the Bible, and he's a king. So specifically in Romans 13, where it says that basically you're supposed to I don't remember exactly the here I can look it up.
Is it putting on the whole armor of God?
No, it's the one that's talking about submitting to government.
Mm. Well, that's funny because the verse where it talks about putting on the whole armor of God, he took some out of that too.
Really?
He did, and it says, if I'm remembering correctly, that the monarchs and leaders of earth are princes of darkness.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And it says not to follow them, to resist them. So that's why a king would take it out.
Yeah. Yeah, Romans 13 says, let every soul be subject unto the higher powers, for there is no power but of God. Powers are ordained of God. Whosoever therefore resisteth the power resisteth the ordinance of God. And that they resist shall receive to themselves damnation. So I'm not going to read the entire thing, but basically it's what governments use to tell Christians to submit to authority. And the Geneva Bible version of Romans 13 is a little different than the King James. I think it may include the fact that what you were saying, basically, or it leaves an out of, basically you're not supposed to. And we all know that we shouldn't put any man above God.
Yes, we do. We should. Yeah, you don't put any idols, any
hero worship is what I call it.
Yeah, and that's a good description.
Yeah, people do it now with sports players. They do it with video games. They do it with political leaders like Trump or or an ideology. I mean, say what you want about Trump. I'm not going to get political on here. I agree with a lot of things that he did, a lot of his policies, but I'm not going to worship a man above, above God.
Absolutely. And the whole Trump presidential situation is something out of my control.
Mm-hmm.
So it's one of them things that I don't worry about.
Right.
I haven't always been this God trusting,
Mhm.
but I'm much happier when I don't worry about the rest of the world. I just worry about what's in front of me and what I can take care of.
Yeah, that's good advice.
Yeah.
Is the world feeling a little too loud? A little too fast? Step into Urokabi, where joy blooms in every cup. Discover a world of exquisite teas, each one a symphony of flavor, served with a smile. Find your moment of zen in our tranquil tea room, or take a taste of serenity to go. Explore our curated gift shop, where joy takes tangible form. Nourish your mind, body, and spirit with our upcoming workshops, from afternoon tea to self-defense. Urokabi, where every cup, every gift, every moment whispers joy. Visit Urokabi today. Find your joy.
So what are some of your strengths?
Probably my biggest strength would be my resilientness.
Mm-hmm.
I'm hard to get rid of, man.
Yeah.
I've had a blood clot in my neck and my armpit. I've had clots all in the back of my legs, and I've got these huge varicose veins. Where when we ask a doctor how do I have all these veins on the left side of my chest and all down my rib cage on my left side of my body, and the doctor said, honestly, that was your body refusing to die. It made new blood pathways to
Mm-hmm.
get the blood where it needed to get for you to live when you had that clot. So, yeah, man, and I was hit by that car at a young age,
Mm-hmm.
and so I think I have an appointment, and I'm not going to leave till that appointment comes.
100%.
No matter what.
100%. It's not up to us.
That's right.
So tell me about a time when you felt like a hero.
Oh man, the biggest time I've ever felt like a hero, and it almost cost me my life too. We were at Noppler's Ford. I think I was about 14. I had a nephew, or not a nephew, a younger cousin swimming with us, and he got to where he couldn't touch, and he was panicking. Shout out to Devin. But yeah, we were at Noppler's Ford, and if you've never tried to save someone drowning, they will climb you like a ladder.
Yeah.
And I was stronger than him. I was bigger than him. It did not matter. He literally climbed me like a ladder. My feet hit the bottom of that, and I just walked him out, man. And I didn't know if I was going to make it or not, because I was kind of at my wit's end on what to do too,
Yeah.
But I kept myself from panicking, and I just took step by step right out of that water,
Mm-hmm.
and I saved him and me. So, and I think if everyone will take their problems step by step, face them head on, walk directly into them,
Mm-hmm.
and you will overcome them.
Yeah. And don't panic.
And don't panic.
That's
That's
the number one
exactly
thing.
right.
Yeah. When you panic, you put fear in charge of whatever problem you have. And fear is not a friend always.
That's right. That's right. It has its place, but sometimes you have to control it and stay focused.
Yeah. So, what advice would you give your 18-year-old self?
Man, that's easy. I would say take better care of yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You need to eat healthier. You don't need to eat McDonald's every day. I know the cheeseburger tastes good and you didn't have to make it, but
Mm-hmm.
you know, there's a much healthier way because it's going to have consequences.
Yeah, I would totally agree with that. How do you feel about like all the different diet fads? I know I mentioned the carnivore diet, but like keto diet and the slow carb diet, you know, from Tim Ferriss and all these other things going around. How would you describe your diet?
Oh, my diet is I try to eat a lot of nuts, berries, fresh fruits. The less processed, the better, honestly. And it's just gonna keep all the preservatives and the chemicals out of your body, at least minimize them.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe in fasting.
Mm-hmm.
I believe you should do a water fast, even if you can only do it for half a day. That's your starting point. You know
Right.
what I mean? You'll get better at it, and you will feel better. You'll have a clearer mind, a clearer thought process, and yeah, that has helped me with my medical issues a lot.
Yeah, fasting is pretty amazing, and it's not talked about a lot in our culture. You know, until recently, now they have like intermittent fasting where people may not eat until they may eat one meal or two meals a day, and then after a certain time they can't, like after 6 or 8 p.m. or something, you can't eat. But like the fasting that we're talking about is a totally different thing altogether, where you go at least 24 hours without eating.
There you go. Like the intermittent that you're talking about,
Yeah.
that's your level 1.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's your beginning level.
Right. How much do you know about dry fasting?
Oh, that's where you don't do nothing, right?
Yeah.
Not a lot. I don't know a lot about dry fasting.
I did a pretty deep dive on dry fasting through former NASA scientist. His name's Dr. August Dunning. He wrote a book called The Phoenix Protocol, and he leans on volumes and volumes of Russian research that they did back during the Cold War. And basically, to condense it all, when you dry fast, your body goes into what's called autophagy much quicker than if you're water fasting. And essentially, your cells switch over, and the mitochondria of your cells you start burning ketones or fat for fuel instead of sugar. That because we normally they're burning sugar for fuel, which is a less efficient fuel, by the way, because you have byproducts when you burn sugar that are called lactic acid. People are probably familiar with lactic acid after exercise and things like that.
Yeah.
When your muscles break down proteins and all that. But when you burn glucose or sugar for fuel, there's the byproduct is lactic acid. But when you use ketone bodies, you don't have the waste that you do. And a buildup of lactic acid also causes breakdown in tissue and well, you're familiar with why your legs ache after you work out and stuff, but
Absolutely.
And your kidneys have to get rid of all that lactic acid. So,
Yeah.
but anyway, your body basically rebuilds itself during a dry fast, and you don't drink water, you don't eat, and some people have gone like 7 days. I've been 4. The first time I did it, I went to. You have to load up on like these green drinks, like like AG1.
Okay.
Athletic greens,
Mhm.
because of all of the minerals and salts and things, because your body's going to need all of that. And anyway,
Yeah.
It's very interesting, and it's well, if you think about like a dog, you have a dog that gets hit by a car, it goes and you don't see him for a few days. He's laying in the barn. He's not going to eat. He's not going to drink anything. His body's repairing itself.
Yeah. Yeah. And what I have seen on the dry fasting and even the wet fasting is you've got to get your body to the point where it's eating it's eating the weakest or the most damaged cells
Yeah.
of your body.
Yeah.
Those will be the first to go.
Yep.
It's the first ones your body gets rid of. So it is a way of clearing out illness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
I've always thought so.
So, who's the one person you can count on when you're in trouble?
Oh, by bar none, it's definitely my wife, Lacey. Yes. And even her family have always been there for me. Her mom is my mom, her brother is my brother. And I could call them for anything, anything at all.
Yeah, I would probably agree with you there.
Yeah.
She gave you the kidney.
Yeah. I would be in trouble if I said anything else, I'm sure.
Yeah, if there was ever any doubt, if somebody was in a marriage that they didn't really want to be in, and all they had to do was not give a kidney,
yeah,
to get out of it.
Exactly.
So, what's the biggest takeaway that you hope listeners get from this podcast?
I hope to inspire more people to be God-fearing and life-loving. Honestly, the more you fear God, the better you'll treat fellow man, even your enemies. And then the less negative we can be, the more positive we can be, the less critical we can be, the more uplifting we can be. That's something that I work on that daily, and I feel like everybody should.
Yeah, man. Yeah, 100%. So going back to the kind of the whole Enochian first century. Well, actually, the Book of Enoch would be like way before the first century.
Yeah, be early.
Yeah, that would be like the first civilization. So, what are your thoughts on who do you think? Do you think the first man was Adam, or do you think it was something else? Do you think that God had another creation before this? And
Absolutely. There, Adam, he was the first man like us, but there were, because when they leave the garden and everything, you can't just populate the world with two people. If you've ever looked into the story of Lilith,
I have.
some people believe that was Adam's first wife that refused some of God's demands. And she was supposedly kicked out of the garden first. And she was supposedly made of clay, too, just like Adam was. And that is why Eve was made from Adam's rib, to try and get that defiance from God out of it. And Lilith is tied to SIDS and that sudden infant death syndrome. So it's well documented if you look in the right place. Sumerian,
or the Jewish Talmud, I think is the only place I've ever seen it. Now I think the Sumerian being that you're thinking of is called Ashtoreth, or maybe Unana.
Okay.
You've seen on the reliefs where she's got wings, a woman with wings, and she's holding an ankh. She was, the one that came and took the babies, and and she was sometimes a male.
Yeah. Okay.
The whole
in the statues.
yeah,
Yeah.
the whole trans thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
It's-
if you notice, every civilization that falls gets obsessed with gender
Mhm.
before they.
Yeah.
It was Romans,
Yeah.
all of them.
Yeah. Yeah. When was the last time you thought about the Roman Empire?
Today.
So where do you
Today.
think the country's headed?
Oh, that's hard to say, man. I hadn't watched a lot of what's going on lately.
Mm-hmm.
Just because my children are so young. Um, I hope we get to keep some sense of freedom.
Mm-hmm.
I hope we don't have any more of these lockdowns. I hope everybody can breathe fresh air if they want to.
Yeah.
Our country, though, it looks like we're headed for conflict. Honestly, is what it looks like.
Conflict like external or civil or
External.
mm-hmm.
And the people that you see a lot of death to America being said right now online.
Mm-hmm.
And I know it's went on in the past too, but you have really strong nations like China and Russia that are coming together, and it's just it can be scary, man. Because everything that I've learned from the Bible, I don't think the United States is in the end. I mean, I think we're kind of neutral,
Mm-hmm.
and that would have to be because we've been disarmed.
Yeah. Well, this whole Belt Road or BRICS initiative, BRICS, yeah, the what's the B? I know it's China, Russia, India, Brazil,
Brazil.
Russia, India, China,
Mm-hmm.
and I think Saudi Arabia is in too. And they were like, we were supposed to have the Saudi's under our thumb from the whole oil thing back in the 50s or 60s. I can't remember exactly, maybe the 40s, but and our policy has been to ignore it, I guess, and that's not good when the world reserve currency is the dollar, and they're all getting together and say, hey, how about a gold backed currency?
Hey, that is the first step of war against a nation.
Mm-hmm.
You cripple their economy,
Mm-hmm.
and when the dollar loses the world standard, the oil standard or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
we will be in trouble. We will not have the resources. We will have to get our own resources here
Mm-hmm.
in America.
Like our antibiotics that are made in China. A lot of our pharmaceuticals are made in China.
Mm-hmm. Our technology stuff.
Yeah,
I
in
mean,
Taiwan. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's one of the reasons we want Taiwan to, not fall under China's control.
Yeah. And there's a lot of people that believe that there will never be war like it was, like the kinetic version of war. Like, you see the squabbles like in Ukraine and it's, yeah, we can say that setting in the U.S. We're not in it. How many hundreds of thousands, 100,000 people have died in Ukraine or something like that. But a vast world war, they say, there's people that think that it'll mainly be cyber and it'll be, a soft wars from here on out. What?
Well, I'm most concerned, and they're right. You don't have to invade a country.
Mm-hmm.
You don't. You can get the country to kill each other.
Yeah.
All you have to do is cut their electricity off.
Mm-hmm.
If they do if we don't have a solid protection against then one of those impulse bombs or
Oh, the EMP.
yeah. If we don't have some sort of defense against that, we're in trouble because they can cut all that off, and people get desperate quick.
Yeah.
And you're looking at us taking out each other for resources.
Yeah.
Because people are inherently they worry about themselves.
And then, they can come in as the savior with all the supplies and, like we do in other countries.
Yeah. You come in and you conform or you starve.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Hmm.
so there's yeah. I don't think they would have to invade like history has done in the past, like other nations have had to do in the past. There won't be another Normandy. You
Yeah.
know, it won't have to be fought like that.
So what do you think about AI?
AI. I'm not a big fan. You know, I like to talk to people.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like checking myself out at Walmart. I don't like it. And if they
Mm-hmm.
want me to rate it, it's going to be a 1 star every time.
Yeah.
That's because I want interaction with a human being,
Right.
you know, and that interaction is critical. It's critical for mental health
Mm-hmm.
and you know, even the little microbes that you get from talking to people that come into you
Mm-hmm.
or whatever. We're made up of organisms,
Mm-hmm.
so not all of them are bad. You know,
Right.
we need that interaction. That interaction's there for a reason. You
Yeah,
know,
I heard a microbiologist say one time that we are mainly made up of things that are not us.
we are. Yeah, I believe that wholeheartedly.
That's crazy.
Well, yeah, it is very crazy. But like your gut biome and everything you've eaten put into your gut, you
Mm-hmm.
know, all that stuff sticks around.
Yeah. So, do you think AI will eventually take over all technology, or what do you feel about like AGI? What's your feelings on that?
Um, excuse me. What's AGI?
It's artificial general intelligence. So
Oh,
basically, the
okay.
singularity.
Yeah.
Uh,
Were they connected all to?
well, where it's sentient, where it they've already passed it's already passed that Turing test. This guy named Alan Turing came up. He was a mathematician who developed the uh, anyway, I won't go off into that, but
Mhm.
he came up with a test to say if a computer or technology passes this, then
They're competent to lead or
then
to like.
to be a sentient being.
Okay, so they would make critical decisions on their own without.
Like they would, the AI would be a being itself. It would see itself as a sentient being with its own wants and needs.
Not a big fan of that.
Yeah, yeah,
No, because you know, I've watched Terminator too many
yeah,
times. You know, the robots are going to look out for their own. You know,
yeah,
just like we would. If you know, if it becomes um, self-aware in that
yeah.
way, to self-preserve
Mm-hmm.
or to multiply,
Self-replicate.
yes, yes, that's a slippery slope.
Yeah.
And I've heard Elon Musk. I quote him in saying that AI is essentially a demon.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
You're just giving a demon a body, man.
yeah. The
That's
Ghost
what
in the
I'm
Shell.
scared of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm. So, do you changing gears
Mm-hmm.
just a
No,
little
you're good.
lighter, a little lighter subject here. Uh, you mentioned that you do a home Bible study with your kids. What other things do you think are important as a dad to do to be a role model for your children?
Your communication, the communication they see you and your wife. Um, you know, it needs to be appropriate. Everything, you know, that you try to minimize any discretions in front of the children.
Mm-hmm.
You know, um, I would, because they're gonna see how I treat my wife, and more than likely, that's how I think they will treat their wife, their partner.
100%.
So, leading by example,
Mm-hmm.
is a big part of being a good father. You know, you can't you can't say one thing and live a different way because they see that and they'll think it's okay to do that.
Right. Yeah. No hypocritical lifestyle. You can't go be the preacher on Sunday and then come home and be drunk and a womanizer. And
That's right.
yeah,
That's right. That's something, every man has the selfish desires, I'm sure,
mm-hmm.
and that's something you have to overcome. Absolutely. And a relationship with God will help. It will help tremendously.
Mm-hmm. So what's the most important thing that that you think that you give to your children?
The knowledge of salvation. Just the proper way to pray too.
Mm-hmm.
You always go to the Father in the Son's name
Mm-hmm.
if you want to be heard. Basically, simple things like that,
Mm-hmm.
and they'll all come together and they'll see the big picture. Like just trying to stay dedicated to a good cause.
Mm-hmm. In your line of work, you deal with a lot of people that need a helping hand. I'm sure that can be taxing at times. It can be frustrating at times. I know because, my family worked up there for years. But what would be some of the rewards that you receive? I'm not talking about monetary.
Mm-hmm.
So how rewarding is it to help the less fortunate?
Oh, man, it's been a big part of my life, and like I grew up on that hill at that job. It's a big part of who I am. It's a big part of who I've become.
Mm-hmm.
So there's not a better feeling in the world. There's really not than helping out, somebody who needs it, and whether it's helping them calm down or helping put their shoes on,
Mm-hmm.
or sometimes you just you notice things like a lot of the individuals there will take medicines, and so they'll have different issues arise that are new.
Mm-hmm.
They may become shaky real bad and can't hold their food on their spoon, and so just paying close attention, and when you make their life better, they notice you, they notice you pay attention, they notice your compassion,
Mm-hmm.
and it is very rewarding because they'll treat you as a friend more, and you will have more rapport.
Mm-hmm.
You will be able to calm that client down more. You'll have that relationship with them, and relationships are important there. You build a safety net with the relationships you build with other staff,
Mm-hmm.
and then you build your rapport with your individuals by being compassionate
Mm-hmm.
and following program. Yep, they all have certain programs that are developed for them uniquely.
So each client has their own or individual. What they were called residents when years ago, but now they changed what they call them.
Yeah, a residence that's appropriate too.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, for a while it wasn't. Like, you can't say that. You can't
Oh
say
no.
resident.
Yeah.
You have to call them individuals or clients. But anyway,
Mm-hmm.
all that aside, each person up there has their own protocol, or is it like there's 10 protocols and they're on number 2?
No. Each person has a program that is specifically for them, because with some of their issues, you can't treat. It's just like autism. You can't treat two cases of autism exactly the same, because
Right.
they're going to have different triggers.
Right.
They'll be similar or around the same stuff, and then their trigger point will be different. Some may become violent immediately,
Mm-hmm.
and some may build to that. So you have to be careful.
So what exactly is your job up there? What do you do?
Well, now that how you had mentioned earlier about prednisone making your bones brittle, I fell on my finger running up my stairs, and it broke my finger, and then me being immune suppressed, my bone wouldn't heal, so I had to have my finger amputated. That's just the tip of it. But now I am a secretary in the Nyberg building.
You work at Nyberg.
Yes. Yep.
So that's a spooky place.
There's been a lot of ghost hunters there.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. I've never seen nothing, and
I haven't either.
I've been in the morgue. I used to work the
haunted house.
The haunted house
Me
is there
too.
every year. Yeah. And I've been right down in the morgue in the dark, and I never experienced anything paranormal.
Yeah, the closest thing to a paranormal experience I had was when I was with a group of people and we were walking down. I think it was the 4th floor, going down to the old Joe Danley cage,
Mm-hmm.
and the doors were closing behind us. Boom, boom. But it's because it was a vacuum, and those doors are so big and they're so airtight up there that if they're close at all, they're gonna. We were able to. We were freaked out at first, but we were able to duplicate it. So
Nice.
yeah,
Good deal.
but yeah, that it is a spooky place. I'm gonna say something, and people may think I'm crazy, but I lived up there for the first 15 years of my life in employee housing, and I never realized until I moved away. Have you ever been at a friend's house or in somebody's home when they weren't there? Like your friends, like, hey, go to my house. Nobody's there, but go in and
I'm sure.
you know that feeling that you have when you're in that house and you're not supposed to be there, and it's like,
Hurry up and get out.
yeah, that's the feeling I had.
Oh,
And I didn't
no.
realize I had that until I moved to town. And it was like, but it still feels like home up there. It wasn't, I wouldn't say like, get out. It was like you were never alone, really. That's what.
Yeah. Well, there are, I guess, entities that have been seen and described the same way by multiple people.
Mm-hmm.
It's just not been my experience.
Yeah, same here.
Yeah.
Same here. I ran around in the woods over there in the dark. I don't, we would play like hide and seek and all that. And there was just no fear,
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a very interesting place.
So, off subject a little bit, on back to the movies.
Mm-hmm.
Have you seen It Comes at Night?
Mm-mm.
You haven't? It's a newer movie. Can't remember which streaming platform it's on.
It Comes at Night.
It Comes at Night.
Mm.
But it was interesting. It was a very interesting film. I enjoyed it quite a bit, but it touches a little bit on what we talked about earlier. If we were all to lose electricity.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. It's that type of scenario.
So it's not really like a horror film. It's like a thriller.
It is definitely a psychological thriller.
I'm going to have to check that out.
I think you'll like it.
Those are my favorite movies right now for whatever reason. And I've always really liked them. I loved Mad Max and even The Postman with, what's his name? Kevin Costner.
Yeah, that's great films.
I didn't really care much for Waterworld, but,
yeah.
But, yeah, post-apocalyptic movies are really.
Waterworld kind of had a Mad Max feel on the ocean.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I know what you mean.
But the whole guy growing gills, that was just like, I'm like, that's a little far for me.
Yeah.
I can, logic whip a zombie into like, oh yeah, it's some virus or something.
Yeah.
That's making these to reanimate these people, but gills on a dude, that's too far.
Yeah. the movie, it comes at night. Now it's going to leave things open for your own interpretation on some of it.
Mm-hmm.
But I would love to get back with you and do a review on it sometime if you'd like.
Sure.
You know, it'd be nice.
Yeah. It comes at night.
Yeah.
And it's I guess we can see where I'll look after the show, what streaming platform it's on. So, well, it looks like we're over an hour now. It's,
nice. I've enjoyed it.
Time flies when you're having fun.
It does.
But Isaac, I appreciate you coming on.
Absolutely, Brian. Thank you for having me.